Hi class. Today we are starting chapter 2. We are learning about a host of things. Truth, if statements, switch statements, while and do loops, and random numbers. We are going to have a lot of fun learning these things. As always, when we begin, we want to put our name in comments at the top. And if you are, most of you are probably using Replit, repl.it, and that's great. It'll get you through the whole class, unless there's no internet. I am going to use what is this program called? Something. It's called something. Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let's build a bare basic bones program and make sure it runs. So we have our main program. This is where our program decides to start in this function, main. And it returns a variable of the type int, so we'll return an integer. We learned about integers last week. This is just a whole number, positive or negative 2 billion. And we want to make sure this runs, so I am going to type EHC chapter 2a.cpp, no source file, dir, chapter 1. Why did I call it chapter 1? That's not right. ch2a.cpp. There we go. It's a because this is the first of probably several scripts. ch2a. There we go. And it compiles ch2a dot nothing, and it says welcome to chapter 2. So, success. We have a program that runs. Let's talk about truth. Last week we learned about a Boolean variable with the keyword bool, and we say, what do we want to do? Just the player is alive. Equal to true. So this variable, player is alive, keeps track of whether the player is alive or not. If the player is alive, we keep playing. If the player dies, we go to the you lost screen, or we go to some other screen that says we're done playing. When we're talking about making an if statement is simply a test. It says if this thing, this statement is true, run this bit of code. So we could say if player is alive is equal to true, then cout, keep playing, keep playing, and a semicolon, and we'll usually build our if statements like so. So if, and then this part inside the parentheses is a test. So it might be good to have this if test, and then everything inside of these curly braces, these guys, is the code block. This is the code that is executed if this statement is true. So we could have another if statement if 5 is equal to 5. Cout, math still works. And we can run this. Let's make sure it compiles. And then run it. And we'll see these lines. Keep playing. Math still works. And we can use these other tests. So let's make a test that won't evaluate to true. So if if 12, if 12 plus 4 is equal to 1. See out. Oh no. Math is broken. This statement will not run because 12 plus 4 is equal to 16, not 1. And so this statement is false. Let's test it. There we go. No more math is broken. This statement will never run. The book will sometimes omit these if statements. These code blocks, these curly braces. And that's fine for single line code like we're making. So if true, see out, this will always run. You're doing a great job. Thanks, computer. Let's see if that works. So here's this. The problem is, if you want to put two things in your if statement, the problem is if we make this false, the first line will never run, and the second line will always run because it's not part of this if statement. It's essentially here by itself. But if we leave it like this and then save, we can compile, and this will always run too, but the line above it did not run. And so you have to be careful, especially on like important calculations later when you're adding multiple things, to make sure that you understand that without these code blocks, without these curly braces, you can get real lost. So this will, I deleted it. But anything inside here now, anything inside this code block will run if the if statement evaluates to true. So let's talk about some of the mathematical operators we can use with our if statements. They're in the book. We have equal to. And there's a question. There's a thing you're going to have to notice. There are two equals signs here. Notice the double equals. If this was a single equals, I would be trying to assign 12 plus 4 is equal to 1. Or I would be trying to say player is live is equal to false. I don't want to assign it like I'm assigning it here. I want to test it. So in an if statement, when you're testing, you have double equals or you have not equals. This is the not operator. And it's an exclamation point. We also have the greater than or less than. So if 5 is greater than or equal to 5, or if 5 is just greater than 4 or 2. We have if 5 is less than 2, which it isn't, so this statement won't run. And so we have several different ways that we can evaluate. Maybe we want to say if your score is over 10 million, oh my god, this person is cheating. There's no way to get 10 million points in my game. Or later on, and we'll use it for building an interesting like critter pet thing. We can also have a thing called nesting if statements. So say just like the book. Okay, this is called nesting. Nesting is when you have a code block, and then you have another code block inside, and then another code block inside of that. So this code block is only inside this one, is inside this one. That's called nesting. Nested code blocks. So when we talk about a nested if statement, this is a comment, by the way, 2 slashes. We have an if this statement. Let's see, if your score, we better create score. int score equal to 12. If score is greater than 5. And then we can have another if statement if score is greater than 50. Then we can say something like, wow, high score. Honestly, we could have if score is higher than high score. Or that's a new record. So let's say that our high score is equal to 5. And we could run this and see that, you know, hey, that's a new record. So let's run it. Nope, got some errors. What do we have? Equals, line 25. That's right, I didn't fix this back. Missing a semicolon before something or other on line 32. That's right. High score is an undeclared identifier. Let's create that. And one more semicolon missing here. Wow, that's a new record. Okay. So, nested if statements. You will use those. You'll find use for those. So let's talk about an else statement, because we could just have a whole bunch of if statements. If. So say that we wanted to find a number. If the number is less than 2. So let's actually make something. Is that all right? Can we make something? So I want to get input from the player. Cout, give me a number between 1 and 10. And then we int player guess. So this is a variable equal to a player guess, and we'll default it to 0. And then we'll get cin player guess. And then we can have our if statements to test what they gave us. If their number is, player guess, is greater than 10, we can say cout, I need a number lower than that. We can have an else statement here. So if their player guess is greater than 10, otherwise it's lower. Actually, it should be 11, right? I asked for a number between 1 and 10. So if it's greater than 11, greater than 11, greater than 10. I'm going crazy here. Then we can have an if statement. If your number, player guess, is greater than 3, greater than 1. Let's just get all the edge cases. If it's less than 1, cout, I need a number higher than that. And heck, why not do another else statement? This is where all our code can be. Very nested. Let's see, what are we going to say? Let's just say if their number else, so here's another if statement. If player guess is equal to 4, cout, that's the number I was looking for. So let's see what that does. Give me a number between 1 and 10. How about 3? Does nothing. Let's have an else statement here. else, cout. Thanks for playing. It's important to teach your computers to be polite. It's important to teach everybody to be polite. Politeness is awesome. So number between 1 and 10, let's do 22. Oh, need a number lower than that. Let's play it again. Let's go with -3. I need a number higher than that. Okay, let's go with 3. Oh, forgot to start my program. Give me a number between 1 and 10. 3. Thanks for playing. Silly game. And one more time with 4. That's the number I was looking for. So, are there lots of ways to build this game? Absolutely. Let's think of a different one. A nice way to interpret this, if something, otherwise another thing. So I usually, when I'm speaking in plain English, I say if this, otherwise this. An else statement cannot be on its own. You can't have just an else statement out in the wild. It has to be directly after an if statement. And again, you don't need the code if it's just one thing. So if false, stuff here, otherwise stuff here. And that's a good way to test, you know, if this is false, do this other thing. So we can have a whole lot of else statements, but imagine your game getting very, very large. You are going to want something that's a little bit easier to understand. So let's give the player, and we'll build a new document here. Control New, Control V, save, Chapter 2B. And we'll close this, turn 0. So let's learn about switch statements. Switch statements they work similarly to if statements. But for the most part, they accept numbers. You can get them to accept letters if you convert the letters into numbers, because characters are just numbers. It's complicated computer stuff. Don't worry about it too much. Or look it up on your own. What is it? C++. There's a good website to look up stuff. C++.com. Yeah, C++.com. Great place to look up stuff. Looks like that. And so you could search for char, and they would give you all sorts of things. Let's get past the ads. There's char. Anyway. So, switch statement. Let's talk about asking the player for input. Cout. Pick a number between 1 and 4. Now, the book uses difficulty. That's a great use for this. I like to give you an alternative to the book, even if it is a little bit silly. So we create an integer named choice, or I like to do input, and we say cin input, and then we have our switch statement. Our switch statement accepts our input in the test here, and then we have cases. So case 1, so they pressed 1, and this is what happens when they press 1. Cout so we say thanks. Number 1 is a good number, and we break out of our switch statement. This break keyword, we'll use it again in a little bit. It's very useful for breaking out of a code block. And we have case 2, which I think I will copy and paste. So case 2 is, number 2 is a good number, and case 3, case 4, and then we also need to have a default in case they press a different number. And that will also break us out of our number. So, chapter 2b, CH2b. Pick a number between 1 and 4. I'm going to pick 66. That wasn't one of the options. Let's pick 3. Thinks 3 is a good number. So this is what happened there. So, nothing crazy there. In the next video, I will start talking about while loops.